Good evening and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm Diana Skaya. Anti-government protests in Slovakia continue, with tens of thousands taking to the streets in over 20 cities. Now, demonstrators are voicing their opposition to Prime Minister Robert Fico's pro-Russia stance and allegations of a coup plot. Meanwhile, the opposition is calling for a renewed no-confidence vote. Now, with the political landscape in Slovakia becoming increasingly volatile, what's next for the country? Well, joining me now to discuss on TVP World with first-hand insights from the protests is Rasťo Kužel, director of MEMO 98. Rasťo, so good to have you back here on World Talks on TVP World.
Good evening from Bratislava. Thank you for having me.
Rasťo, now, so you've been on the ground during these protests. Tell me, what is the atmosphere like? What did you experience? How have these protests evolved over time? What have you seen?
Well, it's been since 23rd of December that we've been having these regular protests. And indeed, I go along with my family, with my kids. I really want them to sort of see the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is excellent. It's very far from what Prime Minister Fico tries to tell to his supporters, that these protests allude to some kind of coup or anything like this. Well, it's exactly the opposite. I mean, these people really are peaceful, and what we want, what we demand is basically we reject Robert Fico's policies. We reject this attempt by his government to take us closer to Putin's Russia.
I mean, didn't these protests, could you say, started actually after Fico's visit to Moscow? What would you say was the turning point exactly?
The turning point was exactly the fact that he left to Moscow, and in a way he did it in a very secret manner. He did not inform anyone in the government. He did not inform the president. So just he suddenly appeared in Putin's office.
How is that possible, though, right? So, I mean, how can that actually happen? I mean, you have this government official who's going secretly behind everyone's back and no one knows about it. Is that really how this happened?
We would like to know as well. I mean, we've been asking these questions, but so far there have not been any official explanation. So we only hear rumors that I don't want to spread, because we really want to work with facts, and the fact is that there was no official information provided. Then he disappeared for another period of time, and then we started seeing some pictures, from Vietnam. So I think these were really the turning points that brought people to squares. And let me just do a small correction of what you mentioned at the very beginning. It's already more than 40 Slovak cities where people protest. So altogether, it is over 100,000 people that protested today in Bratislava, 40 cities of Slovakia, plus international demonstrations in Brno, Prague, Paris, London, New York, and other cities.
And these protests are definitely gaining momentum from all the footage that we're seeing. Rasťo, what does this tell us about public sentiment towards the current Slovak government? If you can just go into a little bit more detail in that.
I think, people really reject this type of policies. I mean, obviously, one has to still remember that the country is polarized. So we should also acknowledge that there are still roughly 43% of people that support Robert Fico's trip to Moscow, according to a recent survey. But let's say over 52% are against this. So it still shows that the country is polarized. But I think as you mentioned, I mean, these protests are actually gaining momentum, and I think we see more people basically joining. And I think if there is one feature which is clear. It is the refusal, including by Fico's voters, to leave European Union, to leave NATO, and I think this is what makes Prime Minister Fico nervous. And even prior to this very last protest, just hours before the protest, Prime Minister Fico was questioning why people participate in this protest, because according to him, there is nothing like Slovakia planning to exit the union. However, the moves that he has done recently by visiting Moscow, plus the recent statement by Vice Speaker of the Parliament, Tibor Gašpar, who did not basically reject the possibility of considering such exit, I think talk for the other side.
Would you say, I'm looking at these massive crowds, they're out on the streets, but now Slovakia is a strong member, of NATO, of the EU. Would you say that these protests, what they're signaling is also this fear among citizens, among residents, that Fico is trying to push the government towards Russia?
Absolutely. Look, we can just make an analogy to what happened in United Kingdom in 2016. Probably no one at that time expected, that putting this issue of Brexit would actually turn into UK leaving the European Union. Here, I should mention that Slovakia is much smaller, and its economy is much smaller. So, indeed, I think no one could actually really imagine that we would exit the European Union. And indeed, I think people fear that these moves by the Slovak government definitely bring us closer to Russia. We have not seen Prime Minister Fico visiting or being visited by any of the EU officials. For the many months. He's been traveling, to Moscow, to Istanbul, and Brazil before, but there have not been really visits by EU officials. So this is what also is being considered by people who are afraid.
Would you say that he's traveling to Istanbul? We know previously, formerly, Istanbul was also a hotbed for Russian intelligence officers being there. Is there any word on that he's secretly also meeting with Russian officials outside Moscow as well? Is this what you're trying to possibly say?
We don't have this type of information. The sort of only information that we have about this type of services present in Slovakia is what we could read from the annual reports of the Slovak secret police, secret service, and this basically confirm such activities. Now, at the same time, Prime Minister Fico has started talking about a coup and about some external forces allegedly coming from Georgia or Ukraine, trying to overthrow the government. But many people basically ask, there is no proof of such interference. On the other side, what we see is actually the government doing this type of moves, which are done, secretively, as we discussed. And so many people actually believe that this could be sort of closer to this alleged coup that the Prime Minister has been talking about.
Would you say that the state of Slovak democracy is at stake right now?
Absolutely. I think we have seen this type of situation ever since the fourth government of Robert Fico came to power in 2023. We have seen, what we have seen in other countries, such as Hungary. These attempts to undermine democratic institutions, the rule of law, dismantling of the public broadcaster that you also have experienced in Poland before. So definitely, I think our democracy is definitely at stake at the moment.
What can we expect in the coming days now in Slovakia? I mean, are there any other massive protests schedules? And and how do you see this all ending? The possible outcomes. What do you think might happen?
I think there will be another protest on 22nd of February. And I expect that many people will again participate. At the same time, we have to say that Robert Fico, in the meantime, managed to some extent to resolve some of the emerging problems within his ruling coalition. Because I think this has to be also said to your viewers that. One of the reasons why, or perhaps the most important reason why Prime Minister Fico is actually trying to shift the attention to some rather international affairs is that at home he's been really facing some real problems inside his ruling coalition with several MPs leaving the ruling coalition. But this was possible to see at the very last parliamentary session, where at the end they were able to pass laws and they were able still to demonstrate a very tiny majority. So I think this will be something that is to be watched. I sense that for the moment they will be able to survive, but I don't expect that they would be able to govern until 2027. I don't see really how this shaky coalition could govern until 2027.
And we will see how the situation definitely develops. We will be keeping an eye out for that. Rasťo Kužel, director of MEMO 98, thank you so much for being with us here on World Talks on TVP World and sharing your insight.
Thank you very much, Diana. All the best.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching.